What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them of this news and information. And yes, it does give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. So help me out with that. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, I want to speak about Stephen A. Smith and what's currently happening with Stephen A. Smith and what I predict will be his fate after the election passes, right? Stephen A. Smith, over the last 6 months or so, I'll say, has been catching a lot of flack for allegedly silently campaigning for Trump, right? A lot of people have been putting that on him, that he's been campaigning for Trump. And recently he was on Fox News. I believe it was with Sean Hannity, if I'm not mistaken. And he said some things on there that got a lot of people upset. He specifically spoke on the fact that he believes that the Democrats are weaponizing the justice system to basically get Trump off the ballot and to make him not eligible to even be running for president and hopefully getting him in jail. And he feels that they're weaponizing the legal system in that way. But that wasn't what really got people upset, right? I mean, that did, but what really got folks in a tizzy, particularly Black Democrats, right, was this right here. And I'm going to play it for you right now. And it's when he made the comparison between the persecution of Donald Trump, you can call it, right, with the legal system. And he made a comparison between that and the unjust, unlawful persecution of Black Americans historically throughout the history of this country, right? So I'm just going to play that right now, and then we'll get into the response that the NAACP had and his response back. So let me play this right now.
But I got to tell you something. As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what Black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. So no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that because we know we have. And that's what he articulated.
So that's what a lot of people got upset with Stephen A. Smith about, that he drew that comparison between Donald Trump apparently suffering and the historical suffrage of Black Americans at the hands of the legal system unjustly. People got upset about that, right? A lot of people got upset about that. And Stephen A. Smith did make a response video towards Black people directly. But I'm not going to get into all that right now and play that video because I really just want to come to the response of what the NAACP stated. So the NAACP responded to Stephen A. Smith, and they stated this, and let me zoom in so you guys can see this better. And I really need to do the zooming in thing before I even start hitting the record button, honestly. But the NAACP stated this: relatable, show of hands, anyone in your Black family have 88 felony charges pending, filed for bankruptcy 6 times, made an attempt to overthrow a presidential election and our democracy, and still have the ability to fall asleep in court and dream of being president of the United States? Blasphemous. Hashtag blasphemous. And for those of you who don't know, blasphemous is pretty much kind of Stephen A. Smith's catchphrase. It's kind of like a running joke, you know. Everything is blasphemous. If you say something that he disagrees with, is blasphemous, you know. So that's what they ended the statement with. And Stephen A. Smith responded to the NAACP and stated this, right? This is what Stephen A. Smith had to say as I zoom in. And I'll make sure once again to have this stuff done beforehand next time in the future. But Stephen A. Smith stated, "This is absolutely positively sad that you, the NAACP, would misrepresent my comments like this. I was asked what blacks who support Trump are thinking as to why they support him. I answered that question. Sad, but you're entitled. Good luck. Maybe that will beat Trump, since little else seems to be working, which was my overall point. We shall see." So that was his response to the NAACP. And like I stated earlier, he did make a full response video actually addressing the black community and those that are critiquing him directly. But I want to say this much, what I think is happening with Stephen A. Smith. What's happening with Stephen A. Smith right now is very similar to what happened with Tavis Smiley years ago during the Obama administration. Tavis Smiley was casted out as an Obama critic. Now, if you ask Tavis Smiley about that, which I have because I did an interview with him on his channel, I want to say sometime in October of 2022, we spoke about all those things. And he said he always hated being called an Obama critic because he didn't see himself as that. But that's what other people saw himself as, because Tavis Smiley had the audacity and the integrity to tell the truth about Barack Obama, especially as it pertains to Barack Obama's relationship towards the black community, right? He had the audacity to hold Barack Obama accountable unapologetically. And that got Tavis Smiley in a lot of trouble on the left. And because of that, he was pretty much casted out, right? He was casted out of the club because he was willing to tell the truth about Obama. Now, him telling the truth about Obama wasn't to get people to vote Republican. That's not what he was attempting to do. Him telling the truth about Obama was just simply him using the power that he had at the time, because at the time, Tavis Smiley was a big deal at the time, using the power that he had at the time to hold Obama accountable in the hopes that it would make Obama shift course and do the things that he felt Obama needed to do and should do as it pertains to what's best for the black community. That's what Tavis Smiley was attempting to do. He wasn't trying to get you to vote Republican. He was just simply trying to hold Obama accountable because he believed in the idea of holding your electoral officials accountable, especially when you have the voice to do so. And he believed in the entire democratic process and the idea of the Democratic Party, and that they, genuinely, care about, the minorities and things of that nature. And if you believe in that position that the Democrats pretend to hold, because I don't believe in that with the Democrats, they clearly don't care about the black community at all. But if you believe in that, like Tavis Smiley did, and I don't knock him for believing that, people can believe what they want and they have their reasons to. I like Tavis, but if you do believe in that, which Tavis did, then he was doing what he felt in his heart was the right thing to do, and that's telling the truth about Barack Obama, holding his feet to the fire, holding him accountable to the things that he's not doing and to the things that versus the things that he should be doing. And in doing that, the hope is that Obama would change course and correct the mistakes that Tavis felt that he was making. This is the same thing that Stephen A. Smith is doing. Stephen A. Smith on multiple times, he's been very consistent with saying that he does not support Donald Trump. He's very consistent with that. And I've said that over and over again. When you're listening to guys like Stephen A. Smith and you're listening to guys like Charlemagne the God, I don't care what they tell you as it pertains to critiques of Joe Biden. None of those critiques mean anything when all road still leads back to the Democrats, right? When all road still leads back to the Democrats, and to me, those critiques mean nothing. And that's just how I feel about that. But once again, with Stephen A. Smith, he's been very consistent with being anti-Trump. And what he's doing is attempting to hold the Democratic Party accountable. And what you see here from the NAACP's response, as well as the response of many other black Democrats that are in prominent positions, They're playing the same role that blacks in prominent positions did during the Obama administration towards Tavis Smiley. Who is this guy and who does he think he is, holding the Democrats accountable, holding their feet to the fire, calling them out on their BS? You should know better, and you're acting like you don't. So now what we're going to do to continue to show our undying love and support and loyalty to the DNC is now cast you out. We're going to speak bad on you. We're going to speak negative on you. We're going to call you out and say that everything that you're saying is foolish. That's what's happening with Tavis right now. Roland Martin made a video coming at Stephen A. Smith. We're now seeing the NAACP coming at Stephen A. Smith. And it'll be very interesting to see how things play out for him after the election is over. And most importantly, in my opinion, once his contract is up with ESPN, or I believe Disney, because Disney's the parent company, if I'm not mistaken, right? When his contract is up, if Stephen A. Smith all of a sudden finds himself saying, hey guys, I'm going independent now, then we all know what happens. We all know what happened if Stephen A. Smith goes independent, because Stephen A. Smith doesn't want to go independent. Disney pays him very handsomely. They pay him an amount of money that he most likely will never make going independent. Now, will he make a lot of money independent? Yeah, he'll make a lot of money independent, a whole lot more than any of us talking about him right now. But that's not what he wants. He doesn't want to be independent. He wants to continue to make the tens of millions of dollars that he's making under contract with Disney. But to me, that will determine what all this talking that he's been doing as it pertains to holding Biden and the Democrats accountable. That will determine the effect that it has had on his career. If Disney doesn't re-up on a contract with Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith is their number one superstar, if they let him go once that contract is up, and now Stephen A. Smith says, hey guys, I'm going independent now with the Stephen A. Smith show full time, and that lets me know that he's out the club. He's out of the club. They're going to do him like how they did Tavis, and they're going to toss him to the wayside. We don't need you. You got a little bit too big for your britches. We don't know who you thought you were, thinking that you're going to hold the Democrats accountable, but you're not doing that over here. And when you got guys like Roland Martin, and you got guys like the NAACP, people like the NAACP, groups like the NAACP, that are not going to have Stephen A. Smith back, and won't themselves tell the truth about the Democrats and their relationship with the black community, then that just creates a situation where anytime someone like a Stephen A. Smith currently pops up, or Tavis Smiley in the past pops up, anytime they pop up, they're easily removable because none of the black elites, you can say for lack of better words, will ever have their back. They'll never have their back. So it'll be really interesting to see how things play out moving forward with Stephen A. Smith. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. And with all that, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Tell me what you think in the comment section below as it pertains to why Stephen A. Smith has been, saying the things that he's saying, and what you believe will happen to Stephen A. Smith moving forward as it pertains to his career on ESPN after the election, after his contract is up. I'm interested in what you all think down below. So once again, leave your comments. Thank you all for joining me today. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel already. Hit the like button on your way out. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below, and it will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.